Hello, hello, and welcome. We are, turn that down a bit. We're 10-8 and in service, which means we're here to safeguard the lives, rights, and property of everyone we serve. I'm Alan Shields, your chief of police, and we've got a pretty good night tonight. I've got some announcements, and then next week is going to be a busy week for us. But we're also gonna cover one thing that we probably should have covered in our series on disaster preparedness, and that's Zonehaven. So stay tuned to the end of the show for that. But first off, great announcement. Danville Police Department Citizens Academy. If you want to sign up for our fall session, it is open. There is a link in the description. So all you have to do is go down to the description, click the link. There's an application there, fill it out, and send it on in, and we'll get you lined up for that. We're still seeking input for our local roadway safety plan. Jump on that, and this is where you can point out where you feel that there are safety issues in the road and let us know what we need to do differently from a design standpoint. Next Tuesday, kicking off our busy week, is going to be National Night Out. I checked with Lindsay. Lindsay's the one that all of you have been scheduling this with. I think we're up to like 18 or 19 locations that we're going to. So you have to imagine, we have 30 sworn officers. We've got about 20 to 25 volunteers. And we've got some reserves and professional staff like Lindsay. And our electeds are going to be with us, but this is where 19 communities have decided that they're going to get together. They're going to throw a block party, hopefully have a little bit of food out there, and we're going to come out. Our fire partners are going to come out. Your electeds are going to be out there. And so it's just a great opportunity for all of you to get together, but we're pretty happy to see this. I think in years past, kind of the pre-COVID years, we were at like 15 or 20. And so seeing it up around 18, 19 this year is good. So that is something that's really good. As always, a couple more things real quick. If you want to go to the link down in the description, download the FEMA guide. It's the all hazards guide up on the screen. You'll see we have power outage up there. And then also click on the links to sign up for our community warning system and our wildfire preparedness and evacuation guides. That's how you can stay prepared. I would just say make sure that you're signed up for those. If there is a disaster of some sort, a lot of the resources that we're going to use are going to be in there. But really what we want all of you to do, and what we know that mitigates hazards and makes successful outcomes out of very bad situations, is how well you prepare. I was talking to, and I am not a fire, obviously I'm police, but I was talking to one of my partners over at the fire district, and he was saying that some of the fires that we've had recently, that they have been mitigated solely because the care of the home and the hazard and the weed abatement, all that stuff is being taken care of. And so we're reducing the amount of fuel that these fires use. So kudos to all of you. It's the same thing as crime prevention, right? We need several things to make a fire happen. We need several things to make a crime happen. So all the work that you do every day makes a big difference. So thank you for that. Okay, on to communitycrimemap.com. There's a little bit of a difference. I know that we try to work with the color codes here, but if you'll notice that some of them have changed. Some of our thefts went to a gray color. So just kind of be aware of that as you see the screens. And then the way that you would interact with the screen has changed. So if you haven't jumped on it in a while and you're going to jump on it, just be aware that the screen has changed a little bit. All of the data is still the same. And this is your way of getting crime data up to date. So if you want to check it midweek or on the weekend, if you want to get your sex registrant information, it's all on communitycrimemap.com. July 18 to 24. First off, this is, I think, the second week in a row where we've had more reported accidents than crimes. Now that's good because we don't have all the crime, but we're peaking on the accidents. So we'll talk about that a little bit, but let's look at the crime right now. So on the 18th, there was a commercial burglary at the Jiffy Lube, and that was while the business was closed. Some of the till was what was sought after there. On the 18th as well, we had 2 window smash auto burglaries. So these are locked doors. So this is good on the owners of the car for locking the door. But it was at the Rose Garden Shopping Center, and the suspect vehicle was a Ford Edge, and they were using a stolen plate. On the 22nd, we had, believe it or not, ice and ice cream stolen from an ice box at the 76 gas station on Sycamore and San Ramon Valley Boulevard. We had a residential burglary on the 200 block of Valley Creek Lane, and then we had some merchandise that was stolen from the Marshall store on the 24th. I've got some pictures to show you. In a word on pictures, I know I say this before every time, but we don't put pictures out to publicly shame people. We don't put them out because we believe they're newsworthy. We post pictures because we need your help in identifying who these people are. So if we have good surveillance footage, or even you'll see even mediocre surveillance footage, but maybe there's something that is unique in the clothing or something like that, we're going to put it out there and ask for your help to see if you can identify who these people are. In the first one, it is the ice and the ice cream that was stolen from the 76 station. And this is where I hope that you all understand that it's not the value of the theft. It's not the person who was stolen from. Simply, if we can solve a crime, we're going to work to try to solve it. And in this one, the theft was for ice and ice cream, and we're asking for your help. So it looks like it's a U-Haul rental van, and we do have the plate on that, and we're tracking that back. But if you look, the person is at one point wearing what looks like a sweatshirt. He's got a red shirt underneath, and he's with what looks like maybe a smaller female, and they are at the 76 station there, and that's what they had popped open. And then at the Marshall store, where we had some merchandise stolen there, this is what the person looks like coming in there. Is wearing looser pants with a kind of a purple button-down shirt and a floppy cap with some looks like some sport or athletic type shoes on. So if you know who those people are, I'd ask that you don't put it in the chat. If you could send us a private message, an email, a call, something like that. Again, the intent isn't to publicly shame anyone, but just simply get an ID and see if we can't hold these folks accountable. All right, so live show. So if you have, so if you have a question or a comment, that's where you want to put it, and I will work to answer those live during the show. I'm going to check the chat now. Lots of hello. I appreciate that. Dan Kibler says, is there a list of locations for National Night Out? So Dan, we don't publish the list because that is a list that is actually created by each community. And the idea is, like, for example, if I were to live in the Sycamore community, we may get together as a neighborhood and say, okay, we're going to host a National Night Out event where our community is going to come together. And then what they do is they make all of the invitations for their community, and then they give us the information. We give it to fire, and then we come out. And the idea being, what we don't want to do is we don't want to publish it and maybe have people not from your community coming in and essentially crashing your party, right? So this is your individual community's event. So Dan, if you're not aware of one that's occurring in your neighborhood, you can shoot me a call or an email offline, and I'll respond. Just give me your address. But if you're not aware, you can also organize one. And I know it's a little late because we only have a few days left, but you can also organize one for your particular neighborhood. But it isn't something that we publish because we're not the organizer of the party. We're not the one actually throwing the party. All right, so let's look at traffic. What did traffic look like for this week? I barely could fit all of this on here. We had 1 injury collision, 4 property collisions, and 2 hit and runs reported. Again, we only had 2 burglaries and 4 total thefts. That's it. So on the 18th, there was a non-injury collision, and you can look at the map all over the place. Normally, we would say that most of our collisions occur in our downtown corridor and then along the Sycamore Camino Task corridor. These were just literally all over the place. So Scotts Mill Road or Court, on the 18th, on the 19th, we had an injury collision on Morning Home Road. So that's right off of Sycamore. That's the yellow tag on the map. And then we had a non-injury collision on the 400 block of Railroad, a non-injury collision on Parkhaven, a non-injury collision on the 1000 block of Diablo Road, a non-injury hit and run on Monte Vista High School. That's all the way at the top of the screen. And then all the way at the bottom of the screen, you've got a non-injury hit and run at the Costco parking lot. All right. So that is our collisions. And I'd say that, again, not any particular one of these, but what we're generally seeing is stop signs, speeding, and then kind of the inattention thing going on. And frankly, I'm seeing it when I drive down the road. If you're not aware, my actual cop car, the cool cop car that the chief gets to drive, is a hybrid Toyota Camry. All right, so that's a pretty vanilla car, which means when I'm going to and from anywhere in the town here for work, I get to see all that. And then when I'm riding my bike to or from work or whatnot, I see that as well. So I see it. So our officers are actually out writing tickets for it. Our ticket production has gone up quite a bit, as well as our enforcement. So please let people know to drive safe. We don't want to see accident rates for a week that are this high. That's well above our average. All right, I'm going to see if there's any other questions in here for the chat. The evidence will be melted. That's good. So the evidence, yeah, that's a good one. I don't think we can do a search warrant and find any ice or ice cream. It'll probably be, you're right, melted or in the bellies. All right, I don't have a title slide for this, but there is a link in the description below for Zonehaven. I talked about it with council last year on the September update, but there is a website, Zonehaven, you can go to, and you can kind of see where your zone is. And what we did, and this is an initiative that is really all across the state, but our county bought in as an entire county. And so if you go to the map, you can see what our town looks like, what the county looks like, but most importantly, you can see your zone. And we would use this if we needed to do an evacuation because there's a significant event like a wildfire. If there were maybe heavy police activity in an area and we wanted you to shelter in place or stay put, we might do it by zone. For most incidents where it's small, like maybe we evacuate 1 or 2 homes or half a dozen homes, we're not going to do a whole zone because that's going to encompass anywhere from 100 to 1,000 homes. This is going to be for a major event like a hillside that's on fire or something like that, where it's going to affect a lot of homes. And so we would do it by zone. So let me show you what some of this looks like. All right. So if you go to Zonehaven, this is what your officers will see. So we can actually pull this up. I can click on a zone and it'll tell me the approximate population for that zone, the approximate vehicle load for that zone, the geographical area, and how many structures are in there. The good thing about this is this streamlines our ability to do an evacuation. So I can simply go to our dispatch center and say, evacuate Danville Zone 8. That is a very specific target. Our dispatch knows who it is. Our community warning system knows who those people are. And so if you're not signed up for community warning system, this is going to take you some time to get this evacuation via other sources. So that's why it's important to sign up for community warning system, because this is the route that we will take. One of the things that we can also do is we can actually look at what our vehicle load is. If you look, this is a map of our Diablo Road and downtown area across from San Ramon Valley High School. And so you can see as you go west, the vehicle load is going to be fairly light. And then as you head towards the freeway, it's going to be heavier. I know that sounds logical, but what this helps us do is in the case of an evacuation, we're going to have limited resources. We won't have an officer or parking enforcement or staff member to post at every single intersection along the way. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to pick those choke points, those congestion points, and we're going to want to free those up. I know a lot of places they've done evacuation drills and they actually bring in a lot of staff to do those evacuations. And that's great to practice. But the reality is when a hazard happens, we're only going to have what we have. And if it's a significant event like an earthquake that's going to affect multiple jurisdictions, we're going to have to manage that event with exactly what we have on hand. And so we need to be prepared to use technology and the information that we have to make sure that we can make sure that our evacuation routes are going to be running smooth. So what would it look like? So if we use Zonehaven and we're doing evacuations, what might you see? And this will be a great resource if you are evacuated, if you're wondering when will it open back up and when will you be allowed to re-enter to go to your home. And so you can go to the Zonehaven site, and this is actually cut and pasted from the Dixie Fire last year. If you remember, the Dixie Fire was a very large fire. They set up the zones, the polygon, so the irregular shaped red area, that's the actual fire zone. Then inside the zones, so the different zones, you see like LAS-E031B. That is a zone that's under an evacuation warning. If it is red, it's an evacuation order. And then if it turns green, that means that you would be able to, that zone has been released so that people can come back in. And so that's a good tool to keep up to date on the information that we would be would be putting out for Zonehaven. All right, just going to see here. We've got Joanne with a question. Just wondering why CPC on West El Pintado has summer program and they have pickup on West El Pintado right in front of where signs say no stopping at any time this week. This was the week at 3 p.m. Please ask their employees to discourage pickup and drop off there, including night group meetings. So Joanne, just so I make sure I get your statement. So you're talking about the section of West El Pintado just south of the CPC. So just north of, it looks like you're talking about the one just north of Diablo Road. And okay, so we can check on that. So I will I'll relay that to them. I appreciate that. Lou Plummer says, is Zonehaven integrated in some way with CERT? I don't know if it's specifically integrated with CERT, but it is part of our emergency plans, and it is something that we use. But I don't know, because CERT isn't really responsible for evacuations. If there were a fire or a major incident, we'll use fire as an example. Firefighters and the firefighter command, they're in charge of fighting the fire and deploying resources to address that. We're there to assist fire and help them to ensure that they've got a secure place to do their job. And then also we are the ones that would perform the evacuations. So the Zonehaven is actually specific to for the police. It's something that we would use, and it's something that we would push information out via the community warning system. All right. Looks like I'm frozen on Facebook. I'm checking the output here, but so I apologize if there's a stream issue. It looks like we're okay, but that is all I have for tonight. And so we've covered Zonehaven, and we've covered the crime. One more reminder on the traffic side, please slow down. We do have extra officers out there on patrol. We had a meeting earlier today with our 3 traffic teams from Lafayette, Orinda, and Danville, and we're going to start doing additional saturation patrols. So you are going to see Lafayette and Orinda cars in Danville, just like they're going to see Danville cars in their neighborhoods, because we are wanting to make sure that we have sufficient resources out there, and we're actively working to prevent these accidents. So please, let's slow down and let's make sure that we do it. So Joanne, it looks like you're adding, so between the small parking lot and the big lot, thank you. All right, perfect. I'll let them know, and I'll take a look at that as well. And Laurel says, I've seen more patrol going on. I love it. And by patrol, I'm assuming she means that there's more cops out writing tickets. We do give warnings, we give written warnings, and we give citations. But certainly we're pushing more enforcement. As accidents start to trend up, you're going to see us continue to increase our enforcement. I think we're pretty fortunate in Danville, and one of the models we use is we do carry some vacancy so that we can actually spot use overtime to fill when we have certain areas. There was someone who suggested that we do some enforcement on Camino Tasajera out east, and that's one of the methods we use. We were able to get people out there the next day because I wasn't tied to a certain shift. So it allows us a great deal of flexibility. All right, so with that, I have the announcements I'd like to go over again. So we've got National Night Out August 2nd. Thank you for everybody that signed up. We've got 18 or 19 neighborhoods. We're looking forward to that. Our local roadway safety plan, link in the description. Go ahead and sign up, and you can tell us where you'd like us to come up with some engineering solutions. And then the Danville Police Citizens Academy is open for signups. So please sign up for our fall session. It's going to start in about a month and a half to 2 months. Download the FEMA All Hazards Guide, and that will help you to prepare for various hazards, and then will help guide you through should a hazard happen and what you can do afterwards. And then go to our sheriff's website to register for the community warning system and download the wildlife preparedness and evacuation guide. It has been updated, so there's a little bit more information there, but it's good information. I'm Alan Shields. Thank you for joining me. We are 10-10, but we're always 10-8 and one more thing, and everybody that signed off is going to miss this. I'll show it on the next one, but just because we did talk about information on Wildfire, I want to show you some of the cameras we had. Last Monday, there was a fire at Monte Vista High School. It was a small fire. But when they're reported to us, we don't really know what the size is, right? Many of you may not be aware, but there's been a huge effort, and a lot of this has been by CAL FIRE and actually Lafayette. Some of our technicians in Lafayette have actually gone out and installed a bunch of these cameras. But there are cameras up on Mount Diablo and some of our hills around. And so when that fire kicked off, one of our techs was actually able to zoom in and see what the fire looked like. So let's check this out. So here you can see the fire went out. And so we could see exactly what the fire was like. We could see, was it potentially going for a structure? Was it, how big was it? And so that's a zoomed in view. But here is, let me search this back. This is actually the camera that we use. So you can see the range that it has. It's way up on Mount Diablo. That's Summit Road right there after the junction. And so all the technician did was zoom it in, push it over, and in time-lapse fashion, we're able to get a pretty good look as to what that fire looked like. All right. So now we are officially 10-10, but we're always 10-8 in service to all of you. Alan Shields, Chief of Police, signing off. Have a good night.